Now that we know how genes control the traits in one dragon, what happens if the dragon has kids? What traits do the baby dragons have? Remember, in the beginning of the lesson, we said genetics was about how traits are passed on from one generation to the next. How does each baby dragon inherit its traits from its parents? Each parent contributes 1/2 of the baby dragon's genes. For each trait, the baby dragon gets 1 allele from its mother and 1 allele from its father. The baby's phenotype depends on what specific alleles it gets from each parent. Let's look at an example. Suppose a female dragon with horns mates with a male dragon with no horns. What are the possibilities for the baby dragons? Biologists use a diagram called a Punnett square to make it easy to predict the characteristics of the children if you know the alleles of the parents. The female has alleles H, H. The male has alleles h. Here's how you make the Punnett square that shows the mating of these two dragons. The father's alleles are on one side of the square, and the mother's alleles are along the adjacent side. The 4 boxes inside the square correspond to the 4 possible allele combinations for the children. The top left square gets a H from the mother and a small h from the father. The top right square also gets a H from the mother and a small h from the father. In fact, all the squares get 1 H and 1 small h. So what will all the children of these two parents look like? Do they have horns or don't they? Well, since the H is the dominant allele, all the baby dragons will have horns. Now let's do another test cross. And this time the mother dragon still has horns, but has 1 recessive H allele and 1 dominant H allele. Here's what the Punnett square looks like. The upper left box gets a H and a small h. The upper right box gets the same. The lower left box, however, gets 2 small h's, and so does the lower right box. What are the possibilities for these dragon babies? Well, the ones with a dominant H will have horns, and this is about half of them. The ones who get 2 recessive H's have no horns, like the father. Since 2 boxes have horns and 2 have no horns, we expect that about half the children will have horns and half will not. Now it's your turn. I am going to give you a Punnett square with the children already filled in. You have to choose the genes for the parents. Traits in living things, including humans, are inherited by the action of dominant and recessive forms of a gene. Here's a human trait that is inherited through a fairly simple dominant and recessive allele action. What do your earlobes look like? Are they completely attached to your head, or do they hang down freely? My earlobes happen to be free. Tom's, however, are attached. Are your earlobes free or attached? What about your brother or sister, or parents, or grandparents? Isn't it interesting that this is inherited? Remember the sheep you saw in the beginning of this lesson? The sheep farmer can decide which sheep to mate to get black-faced or white-faced sheep. The information for making new animals and plants, and the information for what traits are inherited is found in genes. In fact, Genetics is a very important part of animal and plant farming. Now you know how genetics works and why it is important.